So the question that you've thought about and you're going to hold on to an answer to is, do more complicated species, do more complicated organisms just automatically have more chromosomes or not? But before we can do that, we need to talk a little bit. Today's the 18th?
Yes.
For 1818. We need to talk a little bit about these two terms, diploid and haploid. So these are going to be notes. You should be writing stuff down even though they're not slides. You define these in your vocab packet, and the prefix di means how many? 2. Means 2. So let's look at that karyotype. Notice that in this karyotype, there are 2 chromosomes in each pair. Chromosome 1, 1, 2. Chromosome 2, 1, 2. Chromosome 3, 1, 2. This is a diploid. This is a set of chromosomes from a diploid cell. They've got 2 of each pair. So the human diploid number then is 46. So a diploid cell, which could be a cell in your arm, muscle cell, skin cell. What? Question? Any of those cells. Muscle cell, skin cell. Here, I'll take out arm. I'll put in liver. A cell in your liver. A cell in your esophagus. A cell inside a bone that's making marrow. Any of those are diploid. They're going to have all 46 chromosomes. Now, yesterday, we talked about whether or not it was important to have the right number of chromosomes. Is it? Yeah. Too many or too few, and the directions get all screwed up. And for a lot of those, issues where you have too many, it's fatal. You know, it's like the system crashes. It's done. For a lot of those, also, if you have too few, you cannot make a human out of too few chromosomes. There are a few exceptions that we talked about, but for the most part, you got to have exactly the right number. How do you get the right number if you're combining? So let's remember 2 hands joining into 1 cell, sexual reproduction. That's how you all started. Yeah, 1 cell splitting into 2 is asexual. How do you get 46 if you're jamming together 2 human cells? Huh? Oh, okay. I thought you did. There has to be some kind of cell that only has half the chromosomes. Haploid. Half. Guess what kind of cells in animals are haploid? Talk with one another. What kind of cells would be haploid cells? So, eggs and sperm. Now, we have other names for those. Okay, eggs and sperm are technically called gametes, which is informally known as sex cells. Gametes are informally known as sex cells. And gametes, now gametes in plants are pollen in eggs. Okay, it's a different cell. It's still, pollen is still tree sperm. So you can still walk out of your house on a spring morning when the car is covered with dust from the pine trees and walk back in and go, "Mom, my car is covered with sperm again." Just because it's fun to mess with your parents. This is all going to come back to me. I know. When she's a teenager, it's going to be terrible. But at least I'll know what she's saying. So gametes have how many chromosomes? 23. That's humans' haploid number. And any species that reproduces asexually is going to have a diploid and a haploid number. So we're going to walk through the diploid and haploid numbers for a bunch of species, if I can remember them all. Wish me luck. There. Copy. So now we're back to the question. Does having more chromosomes make you more complicated or more interesting or just cooler? I'd like you to meet my friends. You can take a picture of this if you'd like. Can anybody identify either of those species? fly. Yes, it is, sir. We have an invasion of these in my house every fall when the tomatoes are coming in out of the garden and they're going bad and I'm trying to can and keep up. And we get fruit flies in the house. The other one is not a dandelion. It's called hawkweed. It is a plant that you'll find growing out in the yard right now. It's not blooming yet. It'll be blooming in about a month. And these two species are not all that closely related. One's a plant, one's an animal. But they have something in common. For both of these, their diploid number is 8. So what's their haploid number? 4. And that means that an egg cell or a sperm cell from any of them would have in it, and I'm drawing these in colors just because it's easy to keep them straight that way. Oops. Would have 4 pairs of chromosomes. Would have 4 pairs of chromosomes, giving you a total of 8. So that would be a diploid cell. I'm sorry, that's a skin or body cell. Let's draw a good line to that. That would be a diploid cell. What would a haploid cell for either of these look like? So those would be haploid cells for this species. They would have 4 individual chromosomes, 1 in each pair. They wouldn't have 2 in each pair like a diploid cell. So those would be the sex cells. So are fruit flies all that complicated? No, not really. Actually, fruit flies were the first species whose genetic sequence was fully decoded because they're used so much in lab research. And so we knew a lot more about fruit fly genetics than human genetics for quite some time. It took longer to sequence the entire human genome. Okay, so does having more chromosomes make you more complicated? Well, let's meet some other friends of mine. My favorite vegetable, spinach. That's spinach. And guess what that thing on the bottom is? Another kind of fly. It's not a fruit fly, though. This is so disgusting. It's a yellow dung fly. Do you know what dung is? Poop. Guess where yellow dung flies lay their eggs? In poop. Yeah, I think they spend a lot of time on poop. But, you know, hey, everybody's got to make a living. Who am I to judge? So anyway, what these guys have in common is that they both have a diploid number of, so these guys have a total diploid number of 12. Diploid number of 12. Haploid number of 6. Yes. Diploid number is 12. That's what you would find in just a cell in a leaf. But if you were looking again at pollen or eggs, they would have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because those gametes are haploid, and their haploid number is 6. So each gamete would have 6 chromosomes. They only get 1 from each pair. Does this make sense? Okay. A dinner time conversation starter. Hey, Dad, did you know that kangaroo eggs only have 8 chromosomes? There may be silence after that. So we've got kangaroos and garlic, 16 and 8. We got possums and eucalyptus trees, 22 chromosomes. We're still not up to glorious multicellular, complicated, interesting multicellular organisms such as us. But possums are mammals. They're marsupial mammals, but they are a mammal. Okay, well that's my possum shouldn't be there. Now, this is a strange little pairing. Who thinks they have a guess? Let's put our, whoops, wrong, cancel. Let's put our pistachios.
Oh my God, I love pistachios.
Me too. Pistachios. Yeah, those two. And a pill bug. That is a pill bug. It looks really big. It's just a little roly-poly. There's nothing wrong. Oh, stop making faces. They're wonderful. They're good little decomposers. So anyway, that's a macro image of it. So that's really a little teeny tiny bug, but it's a close-up picture. They are all the same.
Is it between 10 and 20?
Pill bugs, potato bugs, cellular lice, wood lice. 30! Tyrion got it. The haploid is 15. So giraffe sperm has 15 chromosomes. Pill bug eggs have 15 chromosomes. Pistachio pollen has 15 chromosomes. Once again, feel free to use these at the dinner table as conversation starters. Good. Excellent. Okay, so skin cells, liver cells, bone cells, cheek cells, 34. Eggs and sperm, 17. Okay, now you know this one. And that, by the way, is a little tiny microscopic aquatic crustacean. It's like a brine shrimp kind of thing. Well, this is probably not one of the native ones to here. But how many? So there are 2 species represented here. There's the little briny shrimpy thing. And then there's what else? Us! Those are humans. And guess what? They both have 46. Huh? Well, I would hope so. You should know that number. 23. There's a company that I hear advertised on the radio every now and then called 23andMe. You know what they do? Did they?
Yeah.
DNA sequencing. Because they look at your 23 pairs of chromosomes. I see your gum. Spit it out. So we know about these species, little tiny shrimp and nice big complicated interesting humans. But the Atlas blue butterfly has 448 chromosomes in its body cells. How does it even fit them? Well, they may be very small chromosomes. I don't know. How many chromosomes would the sperm or eggs of an Atlas blue butterfly have? 224. Just divide them all in half. So somebody said, well, is it because of their, is that why they can be so interestingly colored? I mean, honestly, look at us. We're really pretty plain. Humans come in shades from light pink to dark chocolate, and that's about it. And everything, well, that's what we come in. We come in like mocha latte, and so caramel, that's a nice descriptor. We come in some shades that are a little orangier. We come in some shades that are a little chalkier. We come in, but it's a limited range of colors. There are no blue humans. This is what I'm saying. There are no iridescent purple humans. If there could be iridescent purple humans, I would totally sign up because I would love to be iridescent purple. I would have so much fun with that, but it doesn't happen.
I want to be the color teal.
You could be teal. Humans have a limited range of shades that occur. These butterflies have got, I don't know if the fact that they have such a large genome is responsible for some of the interesting colors that we see. I mean, they're complicated, but they're not that complicated. So the next time you're feeling really big and important, I do just want you to remember, you've got 46 chromosomes. This 1.5 inch long butterfly has 448. Get over yourself.
Oh.
I know. It really does put it in perspective, doesn't it? Your earbud's out. Thank you. Okay. Well, anyway. So, here's my next question for you. We got diploid cells, we got haploid cells. Skin. There, is that better? Skin, liver, bone, nerve, etc. Kidney, muscle. And I have to tell you that your cells are not living a real interesting life. So no matter how interesting your life is, your cell's life is not real interesting, and that's actually what you want. Because 99% of the time, guess what your cells are doing? Their job. No. Just their job. So if it's a muscle cell in your heart, they're going expand, contract, 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 expand, contract. They're not reproducing all the time, and it might not be 99, but for the vast majority of a cell's life, they're just doing their thing. If it's a nerve cell, it might be throw an impulse, stop. Throw an impulse, stop. throw an impulse.
So, like,
Stop. They're just doing their thing. Yeah, exactly. Like, boom, here's a nerve impulse. Okay, done. Here's a nerve impulse. Done. You know, your liver cells produce a chemical. Stop. Produce a chemical. Stop. Produce a chemical. Stop. And they just do this all day long. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just everyday life. But sometimes cells do need to reproduce. When would you need to make a new diploid cell? Thinking about this. Okay, so when these are damaged or die, you gotta replace them. How do you make a new diploid cell? Huh. You've got all this information. Just a normal cell. Yeah, it's just about like the binary fission that we studied with bacteria. So if you're going to make a new diploid cell, and this is the point, can we do this in 15 minutes? We can if you guys are really awesome. We're going to Play-Doh. Our little species has a diploid number of 2. It's a very simple species. And what I'm going to invite you to do is don't use all of your Play-Doh, just use a tiny little piece, with your green and your purple. And the green's a little dry, I apologize. I made this all homemade. I'll teach you how to make homemade celll dough if you want. Just make a little chromosome like this. You can't really roll out a good snake because it's kind of crumbly. I didn't put enough water in it, sorry. Just a little one like this.
Wait, green?
One green, one purple. Yep. You can photo document. You're not a Play-Doh kind of gal?
No, I am.
Okay. Just not feeling it today.
Hey, it broke.
Well, like I said, it's a little crumbly, so you kind of have to,
Work with it.
yeah, you got to kind of work with it. Sorry about that. I'll do better next time, I promise. Do not throw your Play-Doh. Do not mess around with your Play-Doh. So now I'm going to show you what I've got up here. Josh, I will...
No way, he's breaking. Pump a little bit of water with this.
What is that? It's the nucleus. I didn't give you yarn for that. That's okay. We're going to just kind of play fast and loose here. Okay. Now, if you're going to make a new cell with all the information from the old cell, the first thing you have to do is copy all the old information. So cells go through a process where they copy all the DNA. These would actually be chromatin up to now. These wouldn't really be chromosomes yet. What I want you to do is make an identical match to your little green chromosome, or close to identical, and an identical match to your little purple chromosome. And you're photo documenting this, right? You're taking pictures of the first step, and you're taking pictures of every step. So one of you should be making Play-Doh, one of you should be photo documenting. I told you that. I said that. First thing you need to do is copy all the DNA in that cell, so you end up with something that looks like this. So I now have 2 of each of those. It is dry and crumbly, sorry. Oh, well, probably a little bit. And don't get too precious with this, just, do your best. Let me tell you that this process is called mitosis. You don't need to write that down. But there are about 15 steps in this whole thing, and we used to teach them all. And that's stupid. Because quite frankly, you don't need to know all the little microstructures in the cell for this. You don't need to know all the little stages. You need to know the big picture. And the big picture is before you can copy this cell and make 2 identical copies of it, you need to copy all the DNA. That's the basics. You're going to copy all the DNA, and then the weird thing is going to happen. Those little identical ones are going to pinch together in the middle. till they look like that. Pinch them in the middle. Now what we have are actual chromosomes. That's, when you see the little pictures of chromosomes and they look like little X's, that's why. Because that's actually 2 copies of each strand of DNA. Now, step 2, this is pretty easy. Well, notice that I took out my nucleus. You guys didn't have a nucleus to begin with. But these guys line up and something happens. They split right down the middle. You've done this before. Yeah. Well, yeah, there are tons of videos, there are tons of simulations. And again, and probably in middle school you learned all the stages of it. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares if you know which is prophase and which is metaphase and which is telophase. It does not matter. They go their separate ways. And here's a picture of mine having gone their separate ways. Hey, look at that. Now we can reform a membrane around each of them. And I'm going to reform my little membrane, and these are not perfect. But we're going to reform our membrane, and guess what? Ta-da! I have 2 new cells.
How are we supposed to do that?
You can kind of fake the membrane. So, 2 new cells. Whoops. Are they diploid cells or haploid cells? What's our diploid number for this species? 2. Are each of these a diploid cell or a haploid cell? They're diploid. 2 new diploid cells. If we compare these to the ones we had in the first picture, okay, this is the cell we started with. These are the 2 new cells we ended with. Now, mind you, yeah, we would have a cell membrane or a nuclear membrane around them. We skipped some stuff. But hey, guess what? That's how we make 2 new diploid cells. Would these cells work to make a new creature of this species? Could we mash these 2 together and get a creature that had 2 chromosomes? No, because they're diploid cells. We can't make a new organism out of diploid cells. So what we're going to do tomorrow is walk through the process of making eggs and sperm with this species. What I want you to do, yes, we're going to make eggs and sperm. It's a great day. What I want you to do is mush your chromosomes back up, put them in a ball. Please don't mix up the colors. Please do not mix the colors. You can pile the string right up here. I want the Play-Doh back up here in the bag sealed, please. Just stick it up there anywhere.